What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Survivor Now podcast. As always, I am Randy, and today we have a fun, packed show for you guys, and we have a lot of Survivor content to talk about. We're talking tribal proposals. We're talking the Survivor Infinity Gauntlet, and even more after such a crazy hour and a half episode. But to start things off, I want to go ahead and get into a new segment that we're calling Tribal Takeaways. And this is where I'm going to go to all of my fellow co-anchors and talk about what they took away from the episode. So, returning, he hasn't been here for a while. Welcome back, Will. Will, I'll start with you. What are you taking away from this hour and a half long episode?
The fact that Survivor's listening to fans and giving us more camp life and longer episodes. Thank you.
I like that. Short and sweet. No, I love that. And next up, also joining us today, he's back. So we did something right. We've got Josh here. Josh, welcome back. How are you doing, man?
I'm great. My takeaway from this episode, even though it worked for Cody, would be don't pick up the beware advantage right before you're about to go to tribal council.
Oh, man. Yeah, we're going to have a lot to talk about that because I think people are learning what you just said. Don't touch it. If it says beware, just avoid it. I don't care how much of a Survivor fan you are. And last but not least, you all know him, the lovable Abraham from season 41, wearing a new hat, like a super nice hat.
A vacation hat.
What's your takeaway, Abraham?
You know what? I like to see stuff executed. And you saw it tonight where it was executed perfectly by Cody. At first, I was like, is Cody being voted out? But then he executed the beware advantage. And it also, not to carry this on, but it was a great social move.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I just want to point out, guys, the teamwork here. I mean, alliances the past few seasons is something that we haven't seen that much. I mean, it's kind of, the voting blocks. That's what we've got familiar with. But it seems like we have a super tight alliance here between Cody, Jesse, and Nneka. And the way they were able to kind of help Cody out when he needed it. Like, they were playing off each other. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but they were like, hey, everybody should chime in and like give their beads forward here for Cody. Like, let's make this hat amazing and bedazzle it. I thought it was cool. I don't know if anyone wants to add on that, but I thought, I'm like, this is Survivor teamwork at its finest.
I kind of can't believe nobody picked up on it. Like, I kind of can't believe that. Like, I mean, it's to Cody's credit that he kind of slow played the game. They talked about early in the episode. Oh, is Cody actually playing or not? He designs this hat, which is amazing. Like, that fact that nobody in his tribe, other than his alliance, thought like, oh, could this actually be a play? We've seen all these weird things happen. Oh, he really wants these beads. They just totally they didn't even consider.
When I saw the beware advantage again, I was kind of disappointed. I was like, not again. Then I saw what he had to do. And I was like, okay, now you got to put your social game to work and see if you can complete the task and with your back against the wall to go on the tribal. And the way they edited it, perfect. Because I was like, he didn't get the last set of beads. So I was like, he doesn't have a vote. So you never saw it coming that he still kept his vote until the very end. So I like the editing on this one. I like the way it executed on this one. Now, I'm with you, Josh. Don't touch that beware advantage. Kick it over in the sand until the next day.
Okay, this is more for our people on our YouTube channel, but we'll pass it on to people listening on Spotify as well. By a show of hands, how many of us were actually fooled and think that he did not get that last set of beats?
Oh, yeah, I was fooled. That was good.
Yeah.
Okay, so about 50-50 here. I was just thinking, I even tweeted on our Twitter, I was like, I feel like this is setting up for Cody got it. Like, and I knew there was a chance that Noel didn't pass it on, but I was just sitting there. And to add to your point, Josh, the whole, like, why did nobody catch on to this? When you're playing Survivor, you think by now people would know if someone keeps asking for something, there's got to be a deeper meaning to it. I think by like the third or fourth time that I'm sitting there, and I'm talking about a super fan, like I don't want anyone taking anything off my bag. I'm one of those people, I want to take everything back home with me. And by the third or fourth time of people saying, even if it's not the same person, if they just keep asking, hey, how about you give us those beads? How would you pass
Yeah.
those over? I'd be like, why do you want them so bad? Like either you like this is not about a hat.
We've seen idols attached to entranceways. We've seen idols attached to shelters. We've seen idols attached to watering holes. I mean, idols attached to bags when they're giving you the bags. I mean, that's kind of not a no-brainer, but like with as paranoid as you should be playing Survivor, yeah, Randy, like the third or fourth time mentions of, hey, you should give him the beat off your bag. Like that's a specific ask.
I gotta disagree in the sense that Cody had already presented his personality like that. It was a big personality.
Exactly.
He already made a hat. Now, here's the funny part about it. We did have beads on our bags. And actually, I lost mine somewhere in washing the bag because it was dirty.
So Abraham wouldn't have had his beads.
I wouldn't have had my
Just
beads. No,
Cody.
I was voted off by that time, so I wouldn't have my beads. But you know what? In the tribe unity and socialism, I would have gave my beads. Hey man, take the beads. You already got a nice hat because nobody had a hat, and he made a hat. I thought it was real cool.
So just to play along, but I want to go to Will here. Will, what do you think about? I mean, just the new Beware advantages. Beware advantage as a whole. I mean, Abraham talked about it earlier, and as soon as we saw it, it's kind of that, oh my gosh, are they doing season 41 and season 42 again? But Survivor changed it, and I mean, props to them because a lot of the times they change advantages and stuff, and we all sit here like, oh gosh, is that really making it better? I think this made it better. I think this is a fine example of making it more fun. I was like, ooh, this is new. We've never seen something like this.
Yeah, I think so too. But I think it's like an old company just re-releasing the same thing, but putting it under a limited edition. You know, I feel like we've always had the Beware advantages, and it's like it's cool now, but it's like there's going to be more variations of it because it's successful this season. I will say, I think it only worked for Cody though because Cody the entire time has just been the next Fabio. He's just been running around like adventure, bruh. Let's backflip off of mountains. That's the only reason why I think people weren't paranoid. If Justine tried to get people's beads, no one would give it to her. They'd be like, no.
Hey, I have a new drinking game for you guys that I thought of during the episode today. And that was you have to take a drink every time Cody mentions that he has the word living on his butt cheek or shows it. Either one. I'm going to be counting that this season. We're up to 2 already. Josh, are we a fan of this change of the Beware advantage? And to add on to that, you mentioned this earlier, players season 44 and moving forward, if you see Beware, do you just leave it? I know it's like the Survivor fan in us to pick it up, but do you just leave it at this point?
I mean, I think maybe if you can justify that it's not a tribal council day and you think your tribe's in a good spot and you can hopefully, think, all right, we're doing well in challenges. Maybe we're not going to go to tribal for another few days. Then maybe I can justify, with 3 or 4 days to be able to pull this off. What's interesting is I'm kind of going back and forth in my head because part of me is like, man, they're getting lucky that so far in the last 3 seasons, all these Beware advantages and all these little things that they put in have kind of worked out, right? Like all the phrases worked, and now this worked in Cody's favor. And maybe if somebody else finds that, maybe it's not going to work for them, and maybe that's what the other 2 Beware advantages will see. But then I'm like, well, on the flip side, we're 3 for 3 in these Beware advantages, like working out pretty well to be pretty entertaining. And if they were bad ideas, like you would think, well, at least one of them would have, hit somebody in the face. So like, maybe they're not as bad as I think that they are, but I don't know. Yeah, it feels like if anybody but Cody found that one, it would have been difficult. I have one other question for anybody. Is that now an immunity hat?
Oh, the first ever immunity hat?
Well, I mean, he played the hat pretty smooth. But you're right. I think Cody's personality and his social game helped him pull it off.
Yep.
I don't see anybody else on that tribe. And also you see the reference to, you saw the Beware advantage on 41 and 42. So players are coming in, watching those seasons, knowing that a Beware advantage is dangerous. But Cody was like, I didn't think about it. I just picked it up and went with it. Yeah, so that's not stopping me from doing it.
What if that was last year's Beware advantage? Like literally he would have been like, oh, now you have to read these phrases aloud. Oh, too bad you're going to tribal in 3 hours. Like he got lucky that it wasn't something that had to imbibe the other tribes.
in that scenario, I don't think they would take away his vote because it'd be unfair to like say, "Oh, there's no challenge." So
Isn't that what happened last year? I'm pretty sure they
when
lost his vote.
when is Survivor ever fair? That's
Yeah.
the question.
true?
No, last year's Beware advantages. They
Really?
lost their vote as soon as they opened it.
Yeah.
I do
Do
want
the
to
phrase.
say the last thing I want to add on to this is it's hard to in that moment because I know we're all sitting here and like, oh no, we're not going to touch it. I feel like all of us would open it. Honestly, if we were out.
Look,
Not after seeing the two different iterations of it. I feel like I wouldn't.
But the thing
in the
is,
ocean.
you could also like maybe this is what I would think. Hide. You would have to hide it somewhere else and come back, like you said, Josh, on a day that you don't have tribal council. But the thing is, you would have to hide it because was it a little too easy to find? People on Twitter were pointing this out. Like it was just, hello,
Well,
I'm the Beware advantage. Pick
that
it
one was
up.
too easy to find. But remember, there was another opportunity from another tribe for Ellie to pick up one, and she didn't see it.
I think it was Janine, actually. That I
Janine
know. I think
walking
Ellie
through the
and they were
woods?
both. I don't think it's the same thing. I think that's something
Well,
completely different.
But it was there. And let me tell you something. When she was talking about them spiders, spider webs are all over the place. And you may not be afraid of spiders, but you are afraid of spider webs and what's on the other end of them. And you have to walk through a bunch of them to find stuff. And it's like a spider web would just hit you in the face. You'd be like, I'm gonna die out here. Something gonna bite me.
I'm not doing the spiders. I'm telling you that. But I do want to touch base before we get more into the episode as a whole and what we saw take place on each of the tribes. And that is, what do we think about Justine? I feel like much like Mariah, there's not much to say. I feel like there wasn't much to say about her this season. Besides, she didn't really connect with people on her tribe.
She
Kind
called
of,
people,
except
called
for
people a
Noel.
liar. She told the dude, look, I think you might be lying. That's pretty much all you need on Survivor right there. So,
I mean, it's just, guys, this is just poor gameplay, right? To walk up to someone and say, hey, I'm a great liar. Oh, I don't need to know that. There's no need. I mean, Josh, Will, back me up here.
Yeah, like unless you're like, are you
Justine-
trying to prove you're a terrible liar by saying you're a great liar? Like that's some really bad like backwards psychology, reverse psychology. Maybe not.
Yeah, Justine fell into a trap. I feel like a lot of people fall into this trap where they come into the game wanting to play Survivor. You cannot go into Survivor wanting to play. You have to go in wanting to play people. Because if she played with other Justines, I'm sure she would do fine. But she's playing against Cody, and Jesse. Cody doesn't know what he's doing out there. He saw 41 and picked up a Beware advantage anyways, And so I think that was Justine's biggest problem is that she wanted to play strategic and forgot that you need to play social and you need to be smooth while playing social.
now, I will say now, if Dwight had a vote, that would have been pretty interesting.
It would.
It would have made it much more interesting. But I mean, they did a great job heading into Tribal Council tonight. I think it was, especially for super fans like us, it can be easy a lot of the times to know who's going home. Like, okay, like we already know 30 minutes left in the episode. We can see where this vote's going to, end up on. And we didn't have that tonight. We had a bunch of people asking questions. So it was great editing by the Survivor team as well to do that flashback and kind of fool a lot of people. So let's get more into this episode and what we saw from the other tribes. I want to start with the relationship between Gio and Ryan on the Coco tribe. I think this is a really interesting relationship and partnership, even though they're kind of on the outs of the Coco tribe as a whole. I love Ryan. I'm backing up my winner pick here. I think he's a tough dude. He's got a kind heart. And then we heard a lot about Gio this episode as well. And I think Gio is an amazing person. So I'll start with Josh here because I know you were talking about Gio a little bit earlier as being the provider for the camp, which is an interesting topic as well. What do you think about their position on the Coco tribe? And then if you want to add anything that you saw on the Coco tribe as well, do that as well.
Yeah, I was wondering, like, have there been almond trees the entire time? And, like, nobody knew what almond trees looked like? And then he was like, oh, yeah. But also, like, that's a lot of work for one almond. Like, is that worth all the effort to get
you
like
do
the one
you do the work you have to do for a coconut for an almond. The same work, but
Yeah,
instead of getting a
exactly.
coconut portion, you get an almond, like a
You
little
get one
nut.
almond.
Better
Hey,
like
Josh, you
finding
was reading my mind. I was like, where was there an almond tree at? I'm like, we looked for a lot of trees, and I ain't never seen an almond tree.
Yeah, I like Geo a lot. I think it's so difficult with the tribes that haven't yet gone to tribal. Like, I think they can hint at where the relationships are going, but I think until push comes to shove and you actually need to vote somebody out, it's not always clear where that's gonna fall. You know, I think, like, for instance, I'm always terrible with the tribe names. In fact,
I'm pulling it up right now.
I have
How's
the
your
wiki up.
Vessi tonight had to draw their lines in the sand. You know, like
Mhm.
they established those pairs and then they went from there. Baka already did that a little bit in the first one. I just don't know with Coco yet. Like, since they haven't been forced to go to tribal, I don't know that we actually have an answer. Because it might not make a difference, right? Like, the way tribe swaps go these days, there could be a swap next episode, 2 episodes from now. Like, they might not have a tribal before they even get swapped out. So it might not even be the kind of thing where they really have an answer yet.
Another thing about the Coco tribe and this whole dynamic, like I said, Ryan and Gio are on the outs. We have this girls' alliance between. You're gonna have to be a little patient. Still learning names. I got to pull up
Cassidy,
right here.
Carla, and Lindsay.
Yes, thank you, Will. So Cassidy, Carla, and Lindsay, and then they're bringing in James, which is another point. Would you want? I'm not a fan of the guys and girls alliance as well, and I like that they're throwing James in there. But if you're James, are you really going to trust going with, let's vote the guys out? I feel like that's an automatic. You are going to be at the bottom of that alliance. So why would you go there? If you get what I'm saying. Will, what do you think about Coco's tribe dynamics and what we saw from them in this episode?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is that you'll always find people that want to work with people based off of just anything. Like Justine and Noel, they were both like 20-something-year-olds, and they're like, "Oh, we should work together." And that's why we see all guys, all girls alliance. I think it's interesting that James is included because James should know that he's going to be on the bottom because they are combined together because they're women. You know, like James is not going to ever crack that unless the alliance starts crumbling. And
Like,
that's
sorry about it.
Oh no, sorry. He could be looking for that. He could think that it's early game still, and they haven't gone tribal, so they could just be a weak alliance that formed together just so they had some protection. I'm not really sure.
I mean, Abraham, this would be different if it was like Lindsay and Carla, and then they were working with James and Ryan. Then it's like a 2-2 split. But you're a fan of James, and he's got to see it like, okay, I'm the only guy in this alliance of 4. He has to know that he's on the bottom if he's going to go this route. Obviously, they haven't had to worry about it yet because they haven't been the tribal, but this is just something that you should be thinking of ahead of time.
Here's the thing that, like Josh said, tribal council is the equalizer to where you really stand. Until you get there, you really just don't want to rock the boat. So right now, James is going along. Hey, it works for me, especially if somebody approaches you and you didn't have to approach him. And like he said in his thing, I get along with everybody. I can talk to everybody. And that's important in the game of your social game, to be able to at least communicate with them. We saw where Dwight had some problems with Cody. They really wasn't talking. So at the end of the day, you got to be able to talk to everybody and have some kind of common ground. But here's the thing about it is, all men alliance, all women alliance, it comes down to strategy because it worked for you. And then they threw NECA under the bus so quick, and I'm looking at them like, NECA was last in there trying to get out there. And here's the thing, when you're in water and you're trying to lug that 400-pound snake, you're gassed. And everybody's gassed. You look over at Mike, he was gassed. It was times that he didn't touch anything.
Yeah.
So, but when it comes down to a little bit to vote you out, it don't take much. And I was saying, I remember pointing out those mistakes people made on my trial because I was like, you don't have to validate their mistakes. Everybody else saw.
I think the other thing too is it's easy enough to say, okay, we're 3 women, we should get along, we should be an alliance. And then when you actually have to vote and think about, are these the people that I want to play the game with? And I mentioned this last week, just because we're women is not reason enough. And I think all of these players are smart enough to know that. That's not reason enough to actually continue forward with an alliance. Maybe that's the reason that you start,
Yeah.
But I think when you go to a tribal, that your thought process changes to, are these people I can play the game with? And I think if you're James, if you trust that the thought process is, are these people I can play with the game with because we align strategically and not because they're women, then you can trust that, okay, maybe actually I'm not the fourth person in this alliance. I'm just the fourth member of the alliance. And the women aren't necessarily going to say, oh, he's the fourth one out because he's a man, that we're in it because we think strategically alike. And therefore, if we came down to the final four, I still would have an equal shot. Plus, let's be honest, if you can form a 4-person alliance that goes that deep, we're at the point where final four, you're either in fire making anyway. So you don't even have to.
Good point. Yeah.
You don't even have to at that point convince somebody not to vote you out. Worst case scenario, you're making fire.
You know what? And if anybody should have been voted out, if that's the case, if it's women and men, the white is a perfect target. He can't even vote.
Yeah.
The white name wasn't even mentioned as a target. So we know in their tribe, they're doing strategy and saying, hey, who's going to be able to get us to the next level?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, look, the show went off with a lot of good high notes.
Oh yeah. It was a very, very big strategic episode. Josh, you have a point you want to make now, right? Next point.
That was my point.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no,
we're trying for everyone at home. We're trying this new communication, so we know where we're going next. And my bad. Yeah, it's gonna take some time to get used to. All right. Well, I want to go to, if I can get my words under me now. I was fully prepared to be like, all right, this is where we're going next. And now I'm like, oh shoot, where are we going next? No, I want to talk about Gabler this episode. Gabler is someone that continues to. What words do I want to use? Confuse the Survivor Nation on whether he's a good player or someone who's just kind of stumbling about and getting in the right situations. I mean, he's someone who he has speared fished before, but he hasn't used the Hawaiian, whatever they're using. What are they using? The Hawaiian
sling.
Let me tell you something you can shoot yourself in the foot with. That's really what it is.
Yeah, there was something between him and Ellie. I mean, overall, a good showing from the Baka tribe today. In the pre-show that we did on Instagram, I literally told Abraham, I think this is the weakest tribe. They're not going to win. And look, I was wrong completely again. So, what do I know? But Gabler, we saw the mother of all storms. We usually see one at least one per season. Rain pouring down. The castaways are talking about how they're drenched and miserable. And it was pointed out that Gabler is struggling. He's a big guy, really struggling with kind of not eating and just Survivor as a whole. Should we be concerned about this, guys? Because it is day 4. And someone pointed this out. They said, I think it was Gavin, if you guys remember him from Survivor US. I can't remember what season. But 38. He was like, 38. Thank you, Will. So he's struggling on day 4. And Gavin's like, wait till you get into to day 26, pal, if you make it that far. So, Will, I'll let you take it, and then we'll go to Abraham here. Should we be concerned about Gabler struggling on day 4? An older guy, a bigger guy?
Absolutely, because already, Gabler, he's the older guy, so he's going to get looked at as the weak link no matter what. And it's also harder for him to socialize because he's just the older guy. So now that he's sick, I actually thought he was going to get medevaced. I didn't know why or how, but it was gearing up for it. Gabler's not feeling well, guys. He's laying on the stump. I thought Jeff Probst was going to come on a boat and just Gabler, bro, you're done.
Oh man, Abraham.
First of all,
stand up for the older guys here.
Will, if we ever on Survivor together, I'm voting you off.
I'm rooting for Gabler. I want Gabler to win.
Here's the thing about it is everybody got to readjust to the environment. So yeah, Evie threw up one morning from eating something that she probably shouldn't have eaten. She threw up. She felt better.
So this is a common thing. Yeah,
everybody's gonna go through it. So here's the thing about it is the water. They're actually boiling their water. Man, we didn't boil now one pot of water. It was I waited till they drank some water and was like, if they don't get sick, I'll be all right. And I just waited. So I waited a few hours. Water was good, but your body's gonna have to readjust. And Mike is just going through a little readjustment period. He got up. He was able to compete in the challenge, but everybody on Survivor will be exhausted at some point in time, either doing the challenge, after the challenge, before the challenge. But here's something that I did pick up on, and I got to apologize to Randy. Gabler's immunity is good for his second tribal council
We were
and not the second tribal council.
I knew,
was
I
wrong.
was like, I feel like it would be stupid if it was just like second tribal council. All right, it's done. Thank you for pointing that out, Abraham, because I forgot that is huge. Like that, it's the first two tribals he goes to. So let's just say that Baca doesn't go to another tribal, and more particularly, Gabler doesn't go to another tribal until the merge. Let's say he makes it to the merge and that's his next tribal. He's bought himself at least another night and not to be the first jury member. Yep. So that changes everything. Josh, I mean, how do you see Gabler? Because I've had this discussion with so many people. Is he, again, no offense, Abraham, but is he a Brad who is just kind of someone stumbling along?
You have to explain it to Brad one day.
Brad,
or is he actually like a strategical mastermind who is playing the game really well right now?
I think the editors are certainly having fun with Gabler right now, but I don't think that necessarily says anything about how the rest of the season is going to turn out for him. Like I totally agree with Abe. Like when I saw him, Gabler being sick, like I was like, okay, this could be because he's, in his 50s and it's rough out there for sure. But this also could just be an adjustment period. And it wouldn't shock me if 2 or 3 days later, his body kind of gets a new homeostasis and figures itself out, and then he's able to be okay. And I'm also like, we've also seen in the past people who sort of are weak early on, but not so weak that they get voted out, that people then just sort of forget about them a little bit. And then all of a sudden it's like there's 7 people left and there's Gabler still sticking around because people weren't taking him seriously. So like, clearly the editors are having fun with him. He's clearly giving them content to do so. So it's unclear, like, are they showing that because this guy's going to be hilarious to watch the entire season, or he's about to get voted out in the next episode? Like, I don't have any clue which way it's actually going, but I love him and I hope it sticks around. I hope he sticks around.
I do too. My only thing is that you have to assume that people are sick often on Survivor, So why would the editors purposely show Gabler? And I'm just really worried about him winning. I know it's a long shot, but like there hasn't been many people that we've seen were weak early on and then ended up winning the game. Only instance of like someone like being sick early on and then winning is Jen Maraska in season 6. I don't see a whole lot of people who are like sick and like about to die and then win the game,
Well, I'm not saying he's gonna win. I'm not saying he's gonna win. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he's gonna win.
I know, but
Gabler's gonna win. He went fishing in the afternoon, so whatever he was going through or what was going through him, he was good. I mean, you'll be amazed at how many people throw up, can't drink the water. I mean,
did he catch any fish? Did they show him?
I didn't see him
swimming out there.
But to add on to Will's point, I see what he's saying, because if Survivor feels like it's that important to showcase Mike struggling, there might be something that's going to come later down the season, because I assume everyone struggles at least once on the island where they're just having a super tough time about it. And Survivor doesn't show everybody. So do we think this is something that they're showing him struggle now? 3 episodes down the line, it's going to grow into something else where he's struggling even more.
Let me ask you a question to the group. 3 days of coconut and just water. How you feeling?
I don't know. I haven't done it. Tell me how you feel.
Look, if the fumes is burning, you're like, oh, it hurts.
The point isn't whether or not Gabler being sick is going to impact anything. We're saying that everyone's feeling ill. Like you said, 3 days of coconut and water, everyone's going to feel sick. Why would the editors show Gabler and not like Jesse or Janine?
Because I think with the 52-year-old, it creates more intrigue. Like if you show like the in shape 35-year-old guy getting a little sick, your natural reaction is like, okay, he'll get over it. With the old guy, you're like, is this a thing? And then you don't know.
But I feel like that shows more severity, though, if a fit 35-year-old is having as hard of a time as a 52-year-old old man.
Can we also just
Will
agree
is my first vote out. First vote out. Will, I may not ever see you on Survivor. You're gonna be my first. I'll be like,
can we also
square up in Fiji, bro?
Can we also just agree that whoever makes these tribes was just so cruel to this man? I mean, everyone else has someone that they can kind of connect with, but he was like the only 50-year-old on the tribe of 20-year-olds and like maybe a few young 30-year-olds.
Oh, hold up. So let's keep in that same vein. Let's go over to what tribe it is where Ellie said that she felt like she was the mother of Owen.
Yeah,
she's 1 year older than. I'm looking at the ages right now. So Gabler is 21 years older than everybody else on Baka. Naneka is the oldest person on Vessi. She's 43, but she's only 8 years older than Cody. And then Coco has Lindsay's at 42, James is 37, and Gio is 36. So yeah, Mike has like a significant age differential.
Yeah, no, Gabler has the youngest person at 19, even though he said he's 22. It's like if me and Abe went on Survivor.
And he's voting you out first. He's already said that.
Abe, honestly, if there was a blood versus water, would you be down?
Yeah, I'll be there, guy. I don't think you're ready, guy.
I'm ready.
Another person who was struggling. I know we talked a lot about Gabler and the difficulties that he was having, but we got to talk about Naneka for Vessi. In that, first off, I love the challenge. Now, I thought this was something that I've never seen just because my memory is terrible, but I did see. I think it was Victoria posted a picture of her carrying a snake on her tribe. So I guess they've done a challenge like this before.
I think it's a long time ago.
This was a really interesting challenge where you had to drag this super heavy snake with puzzle pieces to the very end. And then you had to put together this very big Survivor puzzle. But Naneka was struggling. And I noticed it early. I don't know if you guys saw it, but like in the cage, I'm like, okay, like she looks like she's dying. Like she looked absolutely miserable. I'll toss it to, I'll go Abraham first here. One, I know you're a big challenge guy, so I imagine you like this challenge. And then what happened with Vessi? Because I said earlier on our live, I was like, Vessi's the strongest tribe. I don't think anyone's going to beat him. And once again, Randy was completely wrong, and they got demolished in this challenge.
Look, you know what? Until you touch one of those challenges with your physical body, you really don't feel how heavy that stuff is or how challenging it is. Mm-hmm. To try to pull something up. Well, first of all, the swim part. If you're not really a strong swimmer, the swim part is pretty much going to take you out. Then you got to climb up something. And you ever notice that they don't just fall off, they just kind of drop off. And, you know, and you got to get in the water again. And if you slow-mo it, you can tell who's working, who's not. Cody was working. Ryan was working. Everybody else was kind of trying to do team stuff and try to weigh it out. But here's the thing. We just saw Neka because she just moved away from everybody. So again, it only takes a small thing to say, hey, that person I'm going to vote out. Now, the person sitting off the challenge is seeing everything. And if it's your tribe that's losing, guess who's going to be the biggest spokesperson to vote you out? Not the people that's going through it because they're tired too. But that person is just sitting there watching. They're like, we got another one. Got him.
I mean, Josh, she just kept kind of walking around, head in her hands and stuff. She just looked like she was really struggling through.
Yeah, I think the biggest indication of how much she was struggling was the part with the puzzle piece where the R was upside down and like she
could not get her.
Couldn't like, and I think that I think that was just sheer exhaustion. I think that I don't take that at all as a measure of like, oh, she's dumb. Like that's not it at all. I think she was just flat out exhausted. And so her brain is not thinking correctly, and her tribe's trying to point out, like, just look at it, it's a letter. But it shows you how, like, there have been players who have slightly struggled in a challenge just enough to get them voted out. She really struggled and did not get voted out. And I think that shows you just how strong her bonds are and how strong that alliance is, that they were willing to say, like, you know, that could hurt their tribe like that, you know, if it was an indication they could be in trouble.
How much should we rip on them for forgetting that puzzle piece in the bag? And who's at fault for leaving that puzzle piece?
Dwight,
a little
he's the
bit.
one that picked the bag up. Dwight picked the bag up, so I will put him at fault.
True.
But hold on, let's go back for a second. Let's go back to the challenge because the first tribe, Jeff pointed out to him, hey, you can't start the puzzle until you open the bag. The second tribe to come up and participate, they were opening the bag at the same time as starting the puzzle. So I don't know why when they got up there, he didn't say anything. He just let them go, and Dwight never opened the bag.
I think he might have just been like, it's over. I mean, Jeff, you got to love when Jeff's like, this isn't even a contest. I do want to ask, I'll go to you, Will. How do we feel about the tribe this was tough for me to watch. We know Noelle is competitive and the tribe kind of just, hey, who wants to sit out? And she literally, we had a confessional where she's like, I didn't want to sit out any challenges this year. Mm-hmm. And we're on the second challenge and they're already kind of pointing to her like, hey, you want to sit this one out? Now, to be fair, I was looking at it. This is a swimming challenge. I don't know how well she swims, so I probably I'll own up to it. I probably would have done the same thing. But do we feel for her here? Do we think this is going to be an issue moving forward? Because that's the first thing that came to my mind. Is she going to end up sitting out a lot of challenges just because people are going to say, hey, can you sit this one out?
I don't think so. I think if it gets to a point, I think Noelle will say like, hey, no, I can do this comp. And I think there will be like different comps that won't just be swim to point A and point B and do a puzzle where Noelle will be able to step up and say, hey, no, I can do it. And plus right now they just lost a member, so they don't have to set anyone out anyways. And I'm pretty sure that the format will be like a reward challenge and immunity. And not gonna lie, we saw from NECA, who completely bombed the challenge, but still stayed, that I don't think physical competitions really matter that much. Abe?
Well, you know what? I don't think she sat out because she couldn't perform the task.
No, people pointed to her to like
when you strategize, you're looking for somebody. Okay, let's look at the tribe makeup. Who can physically move 400 pounds, swim, get there, and you're just like, okay, well, we're gonna take our top 3, and then you say somebody got to sit out. Now, I'm pretty sure if they realized NECA couldn't swim, or she wasn't a strong swimmer, they would have said, no, you sit out. Or NECA could have said, look, I'm not the strongest in the water. So I don't think it had anything to do with the fact that she had a prosthetic leg. I think you just try to make a decision. Now, remember, who sits out that one can't sit out the next one.
Well, actually, I think there was a correction in that rule. I'm going to be interested to see if that actually plays out that way, because I heard the actual rule is you can't sit out back-to-back challenges in an episode. So if they have a reward challenge and then an immunity challenge, you can't sit out in both of them. But as long as the challenges aren't in the same episode, they don't have a problem with you sitting out back-to-back.
That's what they do with
Sandra. Yeah, I think Randy's right.
Yeah.
Let's see, because again, like, I know she can do it. I know she wants to do it. When you out there, you want to compete at every challenge because, one, you want Survivor, but you got to wait and see and say, okay, sometimes you're not a good fit for that particular challenge.
They did get rewards here as well. They got fishing gear. That's kind of becoming the norm thing. Yeah, second challenge, we're playing for fishing gear. I've been looking forward to talking about this, guys, because there's a lot of talk about, okay, this is an hour and a half long episode. Are we going to have 2 tribal councils today? CBS has come out and said, whoa, just because we have a longer episode, just because there's 26 days, just because we have those 2 COVID seasons does not mean we're going to have 2 tribal councils. And instead of getting 2 people voted off, what we are getting is more camp life, which everyone has been asking for, and a lot more stories, which goes into my point. Yes, I love hearing stories. Maybe not as much as everyone else, but yes, they are nice to hear. Are we overdoing it? I mean, I feel like people are getting 2, 3 backstory things, and we're only on episode 2. I feel like every 5 minutes there's like a story flashback, a montage of their lives. I think we are a little bit. I'll just throw it out there. I'll go to Josh first. I saw your facial expression.
I couldn't even stop myself putting my hand up.
I was like, is that Josh's hand?
As soon as, if you guys aren't watching on YouTube, as soon as I said, are we doing too much? Josh gave me the look of, oh, absolutely not. I'm going to rip this guy apart. I feel
like I'm back in school.
I should have just waved my arm.
Josh, go ahead.
You know what? I love it. And, I am a journalist and I'm a storyteller. So I'm going to naturally, gravitate towards that. But I think what it does is it really gives you a chance to get to know the entire cast early in the season. And my assumption is, as we now transition into hour-long episodes for majority of the rest of the year, now we'll at least feel like, okay, I know who all these people are. So as we focus more on strategy moving forward, we don't then need to sort of shoehorn in the stories as much because we sort of established that ground base for it. That's my assumption. I really like getting to know the people, and I feel like we have a really good idea of everybody who's left and who they are and what they come into this game with. And I like that moving forward, we know who these people are.
And now we are forever raising hands. You now have Will raising his hand. Well, yes, Will, you had a question for the class here.
Actually, yeah. Rhetoric, but think back to some of the most heartbreaking vote outs we've had in Survivor. A lot of that is because we really connected and resonated with the players. There's a player in season 12, Panama, Tina, only there for one episode. And fans like to say that she had the saddest elimination because that whole episode was built on her backstory, why she's playing Survivor. She's playing for her son who died in a car accident, and she builds a monument for him, and she gets voted out the same episode. It's one of the most heartbreaking scenes in Survivor because we resonate with Tina. We know why she's playing. And I think Survivor is trying to lean back into it now, which is I love it because it makes me cry. Because, in seasons past, I don't care about game bots, I didn't really like Justine going. She was just a gamey person, If Cody goes, I'm going to be upset because I really like Cody as a character. Same with Jesse. I know Jesse, I like his backstory. I like what he brings to Survivor, and I really like that Survivor's now bringing that back with the 30 extra minutes.
You know what? We had so much stuff that went on at camp that was so funny that people never got to see. And to me,
having Netflix.
I'm with my Netflix corner. I built one. I'm with Josh. I mean, I want to root for somebody that I feel either relate to, I connect to, or have something in common with, or I want to hate. I'm like, you my villain, but I wanted you so good at it. I like you. But now I know that's about you, and I want to know more about you, and I want to know how you got to be on Survivor. If any one of y'all got picked to be on Survivor, I still want to know what drives you to want to even go to apply. You on the show, like NECA said, her family, when they're looking at Survivor, they're screaming, they're fussing, and I'm thinking about NECA, you ain't swimming. What's going on here? What's going on? But we can resonate that with you because I understand that. I understand how tired I am or how coconut tastes now, but like Nasir it was only two people I feared on when I started the game. It was three: Brad, Nasir, and Danny. I was like, and Nasir, because Nasir seemed like he would never quit. I said, if we ever went up against each other in a challenge, we would never quit. But then you hear his whole backstory of how he learned English, how he looked at Survivor. Then you become endeared to him, be like, hey, I want to see Nasir win. So to me, I like it. I like the storytelling.
Yep.
I mean, I'm definitely in the minority here. I love it. I love the flashbacks. I love that
heartless.
Survivor. I'm
Josh,
not heartless.
First vote off. If you're on Survivor, Josh, first vote off. Them two to the left.
I'm just saying
at the same time.
I'm just a fan of Survivor gameplay.
Wait, Abe, I agreed with you.
He's still voting you off early.
No.
Oh, no, I wouldn't. But the two of them. So
first vote, I'll keep you. First vote, you're gonna make it by.
Honestly, we need a sequester.
I will say, Abraham mentioned Cody, or someone did. Sorry, I was listening to all the. Yeah, Will mentioned Cody. One thing I do want to say about Cody this episode is the big talk this past week between a bunch of podcasters that I listened to was, is Survivor lacking a villain? They have kind of gone away from that, and they're not really casting villains anymore. And we all know that we love a good person to hate. It really drives the season. And it just, everyone is so likable, and everyone kept saying, well, maybe Cody, and myself included, maybe Cody's going to end up being the villain. I think after this episode tonight, Cody is not going to be the villain. And I don't really see anyone being a villain. Go ahead, Josh.
I think the problem is the concept of villain has to change, because if they cast someone that's truly unlikable, that, is bothering other contestants or really being nasty to people, they're going to get voted off. We're in a different era of society now where that isn't tolerated. It's bigger than the game itself. People don't want to be the people that allowed the racist or the misogynist to continue in their tribe. And they want to say, no, that's bigger than this game. That's not going to be tolerated. So that type of villain is just gone.
Mhm.
And now the problem is then if you the villain who is going to be the game player and turn on their alliance, that's kind of like everybody now, like it's not really a special thing. So like if everybody's a villain, nobody's a villain because everybody understands, oh, you broke our alliance and voted me out. Yeah, that was the right move. Okay, I gotcha. Like does it make it a little less fun? Maybe, but it's just like what type of person is going to be a villain right now? Like I can't even think of who you would cast because it's going to fit into one of those two camps.
I still think if we're talking this season, I'm still thinking Sammy, front runner, maybe someone who could evolve. I'll go more into that in a second. Will, you had something to add on?
Were y'all not watching season 41? Shan was a huge villain.
That's what I was going to add on. Going off of Josh's point and now what you just said as well. I agree with Josh. They are not looking for, pardon my French or whatever, dicks. They're not looking for dicks to cast here. They want likable people. What? Did you have something, Abraham?
Ask me that same question after we get off air. I'll tell you why.
Okay. They don't want, assholes to come on and be on the show. They want genuine people who want to be playing this game, and they want likable people with amazing backstories. Is what Survivor casting is looking for right now. But to Will's point, we saw in season 41, even with Sydney a little bit. I think Sydney kind of had a villainish vibe going. Shan more. I mean, Shan still to this day, people still, that's something to talk about off air, but people still hold hard feelings. And then you could say season 42 didn't really have any villains, but there were some people with some villain qualities here and there. That's what it's going to be now. It's going to be people who aren't terrible people. It's just the stuff they do in the game aren't going to be liked by everyone, which kind of makes them like a mini villain. But to the point of getting like a Brandon Hance on the show, or even that guy who got kicked off, I can't even remember his name.
Yeah, they never come.
Well, Varner, and then the other guy, Dan. Yes, thank you.
Oh,
yeah, they're not looking for. I think Dan was the final straw. Honestly, I think once that happened, they said, "Okay, we need the really up the background checks and everything." And I think that kind of ruins the whole. Hey, let's cast some shady characters to be villains here.
For good reason, by the way, we should.
Yes. It's a terrible thing. We want more of those people. No,
right.
I want more
reason. We do not want more dance.
Exactly.
What happened to when the fight broke out on Survivor? Did y'all see the episode? That's pretty much you gonna get now.
I mean, now looking back, just really quick, I know we're talking about season 43 and 42s in the past. Was there a villain on season 42 that you guys can remember?
Omar, maybe.
Omar,
but he's so likable. Like
he's
but he got voted off. So.
I was thinking
Shan was a good, but Shan might be the only actual villain. Dan's actions aside,
villainous. When she had the song,
like Ben was a villain on 35, but only because he was on the it wasn't his alliance and he kept winning idols. So like, how else were they going to view him? But he didn't actually do anything mean to anybody. He just wasn't in their alliance.
I think honestly, Justine could have been a villain this season because she was kind of one of those type of girls she was like one of those type of girls that was just like, hey, we're the cool kids over here, me and Noelle. I mean, that's like, you have to really dig to create a villain now is what you got to do. Is like,
I don't think so. I think you still, I think with Josh, you got to redefine the word villain. We don't want somebody that's, if you met them, you'll be like, you're the same person that I saw you on the show. Most people, when they meet you, they be like, I don't know. I didn't think you were going to be like this. But Shan, when they combined Shan's personality from the show edits, it made a great villain because the song had to be combined with the song and then her actions. And it was a lot going on that made her out to look like a villain. And I think with that, you can still have that. But when it comes to social issues and people going at each other, I think you may have something that sparks, but I don't think that's not going to be the top problem.
Can you play that game and make it far anymore? Like Shan got voted out, with 7th or 8th?
But Shan got voted out by Ricard.
Well, we have to look at it like, I mean, Ricard in a sense was kind of like a sassy villain. But I mean, to answer
Russell
that
Hance
question,
made it to the end twice, and I don't think he played a great game because he didn't deserve to win. But
who was the last villain to win? I mean, if you guys can think back, who was the last villain to win? Yeah, probably
Tony Vlachos.
Tony?
Yeah.
Tony?
Yeah, I mean,
Cagayan, Tony?
Yeah, Cagayan, Tony. Yeah, you got me there. I mean, it's just
not winners of war, but like Cagayan definitely.
It's just a strategy that has never really worked to be that full villain and make it to the end and have enough votes on the jury to. That's a whole nother thing. Is even if you make it to the end as a villain, then you have to convince the jury who hates you to vote you. Yeah, I was thinking
Tony wasn't even the biggest villain on Cagayan. Like he was, like if you think he was more villain than hero, but like
no one was beating Cass though.
Yeah.
I love Cass so much.
So bring back and then with his friendship with Wu, like that was a hero alliance that he had. So like Tony was a villain more than he was a hero probably, but it wasn't like Tony played again a Russell Hance game or anything like that.
Yeah,
he just played really hard.
Russell played the game. Outwit, outplay, outlast. But when you get to the people that have to award the prize, they're gonna outwit, outlast you, and that's what happens to him. I will win. He mastermind and he bullied and he played people, and he got to the end. But the problem is, you got people sitting there looking at you like, I remember what you just did to me for the last 10 days, and I'm not voting for you.
I think we all agree, though, like with this likable cast, does anyone that you guys might see as a villain? Do you see anyone that could pop up as a villain? I was thinking maybe Sammy, but like that kind of changed after the first 2 episodes too, that I'm like, Sammy's not really giving me villain vibes.
I can't get Jesse, even though Jesse has a gangster lifestyle.
Jesse seems lovable.
There's no way.
Jesse is the best guy. If I see him in real, I'll be like, Jesse, you're the best guy.
I am waiting for Gabler just to like pop off and become the biggest villain in Survivor history. But no, I think honestly, this leads into a much bigger point, not about who's a villain, but about archetypes in general. Do you think that we are moving away from just archetypes playing the game? Or is just a problem with just villains? Because like I also think about heroes. Like the last big hero we had was Marianne in this year, but like not a lot of players are now like mixed. Like there's not one huge hero or huge villain. Everyone's a mix.
That is an amazing point. Well, I think it kind of goes off of it's more story driven now. It's more about less archetype of you got your heroes and your villains and your I don't even know what else there is. Kind of your sneaky players, your mom figures, which we still kind of have those kind of your father figures, and it's more nuanced. Here are all the stories. Which player do you connect with? Oh, this person, their father died when they were super young. Did your father die when you were super young? I hope not. But that's the player you connect with. Sorry, that's first place my mind went. Or this person was in a serious car accident and they were lucky to still be living. Did that happen to you? Okay, then that's your favorite player. I think that's where we're going moving forward in Survivor US is who do you connect with? They want the audience to be connecting with people more.
I mean, a lot of people are struggling, or dealing with some sort of, most of us are dealing with some kind of difficulty or obstacle. Very few people actually live a perfect life. And I think it's not a bad thing if reality television wants to acknowledge that everybody brings something to the table and we shouldn't try to pigeonhole people as much as possible. And we should show that somebody who's big and tough can have these vulnerable sides, and somebody who's small and slight can have, be a lion, and all these different things. I think that's good to see. And I don't think it was a positive to be like, oh, let's find someone who fits this, the art, the game bot, the bimbo, the whatever. Like, that's not a good thing for society. We should be able to see that all these different people can reflect different values of ourselves. And if you want to say that's too optimistic for a reality show, that's fine. But I would argue that this is still something that millions of people watch every week. And it's not a bad thing to have a little bit of a trying to leave a positive impact in addition to entertaining.
Yeah. Well, think back to what Survivor was in the first place. It was a social experiment. We get 16 strangers and we put them on an island. and it just grows, and it started with season 1. I know people have always said Survivor's gone woke. I can't watch Survivor anymore. Like they're now bringing in more issues, but it's always been that way since day one. And I feel like Survivor's just now expanding on it on a much bigger rate.
Well, I mean, Survivor had to grow just like society had to grow. And we're talking about the very first episode where you had a hard-nosed Marine guy with a gay guy. And at that time when Survivor first came on, that was taboo. And we are still talking about the gameplay and the social skills from there. And they just continue to build and build. But this is season 40. This is going to be the new way we're going. It's going to be the new type of architect of the game. And I like the way they're building on it from the previous seasons. Those 2 seasons, 41, 42, are only pandemic seasons. And there were some things that happened in that season that's making 43 be something people want to come back to and root for players again. But lessons are learned. We couldn't play for 2 years. 2 years Survivor wasn't even being taped because nobody can move. And now people are getting back out. And you want to root for somebody. You want to root for Marianne at the end of the game that you said, you know what, I'm going to vote her out first. She's too loud. She doesn't seem like she has it all together. But I still go back to that speech she gave for $1 million. She laid all her cards on the table. There was nobody that was sitting there. And I like Mike. And but there was nobody that's going to beat her because she had everything laid out. But nobody saw it coming. And I like that. I was like, I didn't think she could even speak on that the way she had set it up. And I was like, oh, go, Marianne. But, we want to start off liking one and we want to switch off and say, nah, I don't like that one anymore. I want to root for somebody different because I know their backstory. So I like the way it's going. I definitely like tonight's episode. And they hit a lot of high points and not repeating. I didn't want to see a repeat of what I saw in 2 seasons. I wanted to see something different. And when that Beware Advantage came out, I was like, oh, I'm let down again. It's another repeat. But then I look at the Beware Advantage. It's a social. You got to be able to convince somebody to help you without telling them you. And I like the fact that Cody only told a couple of people that he had something. He didn't tell the whole tribe.
And that's a great segue into our next point. What Survivor isn't doing now, what they kind of got rid of. And it's just quick little points here. Were we happy? I was ecstatic not to see it. Were we happy that they did not go back to Prisoner's Dilemma Island or Rock or whatever? Because I was anticipating that to be like an every episode thing.
Yeah, definitely.
God, guys, it's like Prisoner's Dilemma, where we have to calculate risk and not. Oh my God.
I was waiting for the boats. I was waiting for the boats to pull up.
Save.
Just waiting. And another thing that they got rid of that only lasted, I think it only lasted 1 season. And I know they got rid of the hourglass and they got rid of the do or die. And we all knew that. But one thing they didn't say they got rid of was the game within a game. Does anyone miss that? The game within a game that they were doing?
I thought it was for the fans. What was the fans could play along with it?
It was as long as they don't go like barcodes on the screen. So it was something would pop up and say, go to this website. And then if you go to this website, you can solve this puzzle. And then you do that all season. I get what they were trying to do, but I don't know. I just thought of that today.
Made me feel like a real survivor.
Yeah. I'm like, you tried it. It didn't work. But before we say our goodbyes here, I think we've covered a lot. Do any of you guys have another point you want to throw out that we missed today? By the way, the tribal proposal that we got was absolutely beautiful when Jesse got on his knees. We'll see if they talk next week. He got on his knees for Dwight, and now Dwight's going to be furious. But that got me thinking, why has no one actually? I mean, Boston Rob and Amber, did they propose?
It was at the actual
ceremony.
It was at the
reunion.
I want to see someone propose on the island.
I remember Jeff was like, yeah, if I was an ordained minister, we can get married right now.
Maybe like a blood versus water season if you get a couple of fiancés or something. But if anybody met their future wife on the show and proposed to them within 25 days, they are insane.
Think of how cool that would be. And I would not put
one word for it.
I would not put it.
I mean, you dirty.
I bet you Jeff would stand up and say that. Like, I am actually licensed. I can wed you guys right here.
Josh,
like,
do you watch Big Brother?
Prime television.
I don't.
I like to go. I like to go on record and say there's no shower, there's no toothpaste, there's no soap.
That doesn't stop them from
That does
cuddling and
not
doing
stop
whatever else they do. Like, why not just
Will,
pop
are
the
you going to
question?
tell me that somebody got engaged on Big Brother?
Yeah, twice actually. One time, the week 2 boot proposed to like some random juror in the finale of season 20, and then in season 2, something similar happened between 2 people. It never worked out.
I mean, there is the famous Candace and Billy Survivor love story, obviously, which has persisted.
Love
for
at first
decades.
sight.
So, Josh, you think
It
it's
was
just
Candace.
impossible? It's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
No, it's not.
Oh,
Because
wait,
25.
I'm
Let me put it this
Josh.
way, it
I'm a
shouldn't
co-sign.
happen. It shouldn't happen. I'm not
just-
going to say never, but it
Leave it.
shouldn't
Hey,
happen.
leave it to Cody. Cody's going to make like a palm tree ring. And yeah, we're going to get it someday. If I have to go on Survivor and do it myself just to be rejected.
Don't.
Why are
do
you
that.
here? For love.
What I
Don't
think
do it.
might happen, I don't know if this has happened yet, but a loved one visit, someone on the island could propose to their fiance.
Oh,
That
you can
could
do
be
that.
cool.
That could happen.
But you already, but
I
you already
don't-
the fiance.
Has that not happened?
I don't
No.
think that's ever happened. Yeah,
We've
no.
had multiple reunion show proposals.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they-
Yeah,
David,
on the
right?
reunion show, but when you come out to the
Remember
island, they already know who you are, and that's the mystique behind it of who you invite. The best. I gotta meet this guy. Johnny Fairplay by all has the best visit ever.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
I love Johnny Fairplay.
I'm going to catch you guys off guard here with our final new lost the word new question, or you got new segment. That's the word I was looking for. We're gonna put this vote up to the fans. We do it every week. If you guys want to vote on the player of the week for week 2, go ahead to our Instagram at Survivor Now
Vote
Podcast or our Twitter at Survivor Now Pod. So I want to know for you guys, who is your player of the week? We'll start with Will. Will, who's your player of the week and why?
If Cody doesn't win it, I will be very surprised. But that man both showed a lot of great character, which I know doesn't matter for player of the week, but he showed amazing social play. And I think he's a sleeper pick. And if Cody doesn't win it, then the fans are wrong.
Yeah, he's no
Oh,
sleeper
just
pick
throwing
for
it
this
out
week
there.
for sure.
Oh,
Yep.
Josh, you're agreeing with Will.
Oh, totally. How could it be
Yeah.
anybody other than Cody? Absolutely.
Abe, let me guess.
Go
you
on.
pick Gabler.
Yeah, I'm picking Gable, the guy.
Yeah,
I'm going
right.
against the grain. Gable is my guy. I'm
Had-
picking Gable.
He
I'm
had
picking
to
Gable.
be different. I'm also.
You want me
I
to
think.
Gable,
I
yeah?
think Cody deserves it. If you don't give it to Cody, I think Jesse could be a sleeper to win it. I think Jesse helped Cody a lot in getting those, so it'll be interesting. We'll put all of our options up on our Instagram page. I do want to say, sending best wishes, all of our well wishes to everyone in Florida battling the hurricane. That is, I have some friends down there, and they're dealing with some serious flooding right now. So we are praying for you guys. We hope everything ends up being okay and everyone ends safely after this storm has passed. But other than that, hey guys, where can the fans catch you on Instagram? I'll just throw mine out. You can catch me on Instagram at I'm Randy Bruce. Will, go ahead.
I don't really use social media, but follow at
for him.
official saving Bruce. It's my own little passion project. So it's where I put all my effort into.
Josh, what about you, man?
You can follow me on Instagram and much more interestingly on Twitter at JM as in Michael Verlin, JMVERLIN.
And then Abraham, wrap us up here.
You can follow me at Abraham_99_99 on IG.
But that is it. So go follow everyone. Thank you guys so much for your support. If you are watching on YouTube, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. We really do appreciate it. If you're listening on Spotify, make sure to follow us. You never know when a new episode is going to go out. We cover everything Survivor US, Survivor Australia, Survivor UK starting next year. So that's going to be fun as well. But thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. And we will catch you again for more Survivor 43 next week. We'll see you then.